All right, there we go. We have power, and we have 1 hour for a terrific final session today. It's 1 hour will be difficult to constrain such a wide-ranging discussion over the geostrategic and geopolitical dimensions of energy in the region, of the new projects which are underway, of the prospects for future interconnections and cooperation, and for the challenges that the region must face together. I want to begin by allowing each minister or deputy minister to give us just a very brief overview of some of your priorities when it comes to regional energy cooperation, building off of Minister Hatzidakis' excellent remarks. I'm being told that we have, in fact, just half an hour, so we're going to make this truly a lightning round. And Minister Buluku, let me start with you. What are the Republic of Albania's priorities in this area, and how is progress in pursuing them thus far?
So first of all, let me thank the host of this very important event and thank for all your efforts. Regarding the Albanian government strategies, in our case, today I'm watching all the discussion with great attention, to tell the truth. But in our case, the decarbonization, it's not an issue because we are producing 100% renewable energy through the hydropowers. So we have inherited from our communistic regime big hydropowers which are producing the 100% of the energy. But to the other hand, what we are facing right now, due to the biggest need of the market, today we are always in lack of energy during the peak time, so the summer. And what we are doing is the importing during this peak time in very high prices. So our strategy is mainly supporting the diversification of renewable sources. And that's why we are planning to build in all our territory new PV parks, so the photovoltaic and the aeolic, which are in our plans too. And meanwhile, the gasification of our country, it's one of the issues and part of our strategy that we are working. Because, as you know, the TAP is crossing Albania, and in our country, the works are about 95% delivered, and everything is going good. But to the other hand, the Ionian Adriatic pipeline, it's planned to cross Albania. And of course, we don't have the reserve of gas that the Middle East have, but Albania is a country with a great amount of reserve of gas. The Shell upstream company have just discovered a very good reserve in the part east-south of Albania, and we believe that in the future will be on of the strong point to produce our energy. So we are maybe the only country in the Balkans and maybe in Europe to produce 100% energy, but in the meanwhile, we are working very hard to diversify our sources.
Terrific. Building on strengths and working to further mitigate challenges. Thank you very much, Minister Buluku. Minister Nuruddini, turning to you, you're relatively new in your role, and you've got quite an exciting time politically for North Macedonia. How do you build on that general political change, that political opportunity in your particular portfolio? What are your priorities for the years ahead?
First of all, I'd like to take the opportunity as well to thank our hosts, dear colleagues, ministers, excellencies, distinguished participants. We are actually currently going through a good time. We are looking forward to hopefully getting the date for the EU accession talks in October. I feel like I'm going to repeat my colleagues here. I can only stress the importance of diversifying our energy supplies, energy producers and our energy suppliers. I can only further stress my colleagues, my ministers, my colleagues' remarks that only through working together regionally can we secure our energy for the future. We are a net importer of energy. We are currently working on expanding our gas network across the country. We currently have one source. We are looking to hopefully have further sources in the future. We're also working on expanding our renewable energies. We have just tendered a 35 megawatt solar farm, and we want to build on that as well in the future. Our issues actually are mainly with air pollution. So the more we actually have renewable and cleaner energy in the future, the better it's going to be for our citizens.
Terrific. So there's a real alignment of goals there, and I'm going to want to come back in a second to some of those questions on regional cooperation. But first, Deputy Minister Sankov, perhaps you could also give us an overview of Bulgaria's progress in some of these dimensions and your priorities as well going forward.
Thank you very much. I also want to thank the organizers, the American Hellenic Chamber of Commerce, for inviting me. Of course, when we're speaking about priorities, Bulgaria is a part of the European family. One of the biggest priority and top priority is related with the security of supply. When we're speaking about security of supply, of course, it's gas or energy supply. As you know, our region, we are depending more or less from one supplier in the gas sector. Of course, we are doing a lot at the moment for diversification. And as Mr. Hazitakis mentioned, the one very important project which is from top priority is the interconnector between Greece and Bulgaria, IGB. Of course, this interconnector will give the diversification of gas supply and security of supply not only for Bulgaria, but the whole region. For Bulgaria, that means 1 BCM of gas starting from 2020 from Azeri region, for Shagdenis 2. Of course, here it's very important to mention that our partners from gas trade, we have a very strong conversation and strong commitment coming from our Prime Minister, Borisov, that we're going to participate in this floating LNG terminal in Alexandroupolis with a share of 20%, which will give us the opportunity to use the fully capacity of the IGB interconnector, which is 3 BCM. Of course, to be honest and to the end, when we're speaking about the security of our supply, we are not speaking only for Bulgaria. We are in construction of also to the interconnector with Serbia. We have many conversations with our colleagues from North Macedonia that we can provide additional quantities of gas, and really we are working very hard on this, extending our internal gas infrastructure, building new compressor station, and here it's important to mention that 80% from the compressor station in the gas compressor station in the region are on the territory of Bulgaria, and we are doing everything what is necessary to keep them in good condition.
Terrific. I want to just take the privilege to keep on that topic briefly. And this is addressed both to you as well as to you, Minister Hatzidakis. What's changed with IGB? Why the optimism this time around that we're really going to get through the finish line and that this project will get to completion? We've had a false start before. What's different this time around? Is it regional cooperation? And what are the key benchmarks that we should be looking at going forward to know that IGB is getting closer and closer to realization?
Mr. Minister.
It takes some time between the planning of certain energy projects and certainly pipelines and the completion of this project. We are talking about huge investments, first of all. Secondly, I think that at least two governments, in some cases many governments, have to cooperate and decide as regards these projects. Anyway, I think that from the very beginning there was the necessary political will both in Greece and Bulgaria as regards IGB. Unfortunately, we have had the crisis hitting Greece 2010. So IGB was, to some extent, a collateral damage. Anyway, the most important fact is that the program have been always there. And now I understand, talking to our services at least, that there is a tangible progress. And I think that this project does not connect only Greece and Bulgaria and Greece. It is a project affecting the whole region. And it is a project linked to FSRU in Alexandroupolis as well, because FSRU can be linked with IGB. Also, TAP can be linked with IGB. So the whole picture is changing as regards interconnection in this broader region. And of course, that has a clear geostrategic dimension.
Absolutely. And aided in no small part by an increasingly global LNG market, as you alluded to, by connecting IGB to Alexandroupolis.
To Alexandroupolis, yeah.
Absolutely. Please.
Maybe just to say a few words, maybe to repeat partly what Minister Hatzidakis just mentioned, but I'm always saying IGB is high level of energy diplomacy. It's a project on territory of two European member states, and shareholders are three companies from three different member states. Maybe this was at the beginning something what was problematic, the project to start with very high level of speed. But I think something which speeds the project, how already mentioned, Mr. Hatzidakis mentioned that 2009 was very important year of this. You remember the gas crisis 2009, and Bulgaria and Slovakia were the big losers because we didn't have any other sources of gas. We saw the good results after underwriting with our colleagues from Greece the reverse flow from the existing interconnector. And we, even this year, for first time, we bought more than 300 million cubic meter of LNG coming from Greece terminals. With the Bulgarian-Greece interconnector, we will have the opportunity not only to transfer this gas to the Bulgarian territory, we will have the opportunity first to have alive another LNG terminal in Alexandroupolis. Second of all, we are short before underwriting interconnector agreement with our colleagues from Romania for reverse flow, which will give us opportunity to transfer gas to Romania, Moldavian, and even to Ukraine if it's needed. And that's the main goal of this thing. And something which also was in the speech of Mr. Hatzidakis, the money which were needed for such a project, it was needed also time to find the real sources of money. First of all, we received 45 million from European Commission. Second of all, we allocated from our Bulgarian European funds another 39 million. And of course, just a week ago, our Council of Ministers take a decision to provide and to ask our Bulgarian Energy Holding to underwrite bank guarantee and to receive money from European Investment Bank, another 110 million. And that means that the money is secured, and I think this project will happen in the soonest period of time, and we will be ready to receive first quantities of Azeri gas in 2020.
Terrific. Minister Bulucu, let me turn to you. Earlier this year, you announced a desire to work towards establishing an energy exchange in Albania. Could you give us an update on current progress there? And is there room for cooperation with Greece and its own progress in that regard?
Absolutely. So the Albanian electrical sector, so the energy sector, is now in front of a big challenge, which is a deep reform regarding the regulatory frame and all the way of operation. In the beginning of this year, in the May 17, the Council of Ministers have approved the creation of energy power exchange. And of course, now we are working to be in line and in compliance with every of the requirement of EU regarding this power exchange. And what is more important is to create the liquidity for operation of this power exchange. The open market, the free market, it's very important for Albania because through this free market we can create the competition, and the competition to be the base of creating more possibilities in our energy field. Of course, the cooperation, the regional cooperation, it's one of our top priorities regarding the interconnection, and this is not only for the electrical energy, but it's in place for the gasification too. So the interconnection with Greece and Montenegro and Kosovo, it's already there and on operation. We are working right now with North Macedonia to build and to operate the new line of interconnection. And in meanwhile, as I've already said before, so I want to underline that the interconnection of the pipelines that are crossing Albania are very important for us. So the regional cooperation is a top priority for Albanian government.
Terrific. Something that builds off of that, really a question for all of you, because we have a unique panel. You've got two members of the European Union, two other states that may be looking towards a session in the future. What's the role of Europe in all of this? What's the role of the EU in helping you to achieve these goals and helping you to achieve them in a regional context? Let's start with our two states that are currently outside of the EU, but for whom the EU is a very relevant player.
Should I start or?
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, actually, I'd just like to mention the projects or the plans and the developments that we mentioned. My colleagues here just show how true Minister Hatzidakis' comments are, that only together, regional cooperation and fruitful cooperation, can we secure a safe supply of energy. What do we expect from the EU? What do they expect from us is a question as well, really. There's a lot of modernizations that we need to do. We need their support, we need their advice, we need our neighbors' advice who already are in the EU. We need your support in the know-how and the development of our energy use, energy generation, working together cross-boundary as well. It's a long process, we know. Just going to mention from my side, the Environment 1, Chapter 27 is not an easy one. We have a lot of work on that, and we hope to have a lot of support from our neighbors who are already parts of the Union.
Terrific.
Great. So about the accession to negotiation, we are waiting both states to have this great news by October. We are hoping so. And we are working very hard regarding the compliance with all the Secretariat of Energy requirements and the transposition of the third energy package. It's already in place in Albania. So we are already operating with the secondary legislation. And I believe that, as my colleague said, that the paragraph 27, it's a huge responsibility for any of the states that are aiming to be part of European Union, and we are working for that homeworks that we have in front of us.
Excellent. And Minister Hatzidakis, it sounds like from news reports, Greece is well positioned to receive an increasingly large share of funds from the European Union with regard to coal transition. What role might those funds play in your own ambitious plans, as you laid out in your 7 points, working towards the zero emission target in the EU, and capitalizing on the opportunity presented by increasingly inexpensive and flexible renewable energy resources?
I didn't refer explicitly to the PPC problems because I'm doing it every day, and I didn't have anything new to add. But I did it indirectly when I referred to post-lignite, post-coal period. It is necessary for political, international commitments of the country and economic and environmental reasons to withdraw some lignite units operating in Greece, owned by PPC, the main electricity company in Greece. And we'll do it. And we have an ambitious plan because we have to adapt to the European rules and we have to mitigate losses of PPC. And in order to do it, we have to adopt a global plan regarding the regions affected by this transition to post-lignite, post-coal era. And we'll work with the European Commission. There are specific policies supported by the European Union, and in the framework of this transition and also in the framework of the liberalization of the Greek energy market, we'll cooperate with the European Commission. Mr. Thomas, the Deputy Minister, is currently negotiating with the European Commission, trying to address all the issues in a global manner. And I think that very soon we'll be in a position to present a plan concerning the decarbonization of Greece and also the adoption of a specific plan covering the needs of the regions affected. The role of the European Union is important. It is important in the case of Greece, but I think it is extremely important in the case of our neighbors as well, because the European Union provides two different things: best practices, including the culture of cooperation, and also, don't forget, the necessary funding in order to build all these interconnectors, the electricity interconnectors, the pipe, the gas interconnectors, and that's why if the European Union didn't exist, we should invent it, especially in this region.
Terrific. I would be remiss if I didn't seize on the title of this panel as well to zoom out and put this in a truly global context. In the geopolitics of the 21st century, this region, Southeast Europe, is truly at the center of the world. You are at the nexus of a competition for capital, a competition for influence, a competition for business amongst major players. To name a few: the United States, China, the European Union, Turkey, Russia, increasingly Gulf states. If we could just run down the line, and if I could ask you each to perhaps briefly comment on how are you seeing some of these changing geostrategic trends at the global level manifest themselves in the energy sector to which you're privy. Minister, let's start with you, because Greece has experienced this, surely, at least when it comes to some of those major players, Russia, China, the United States, the EU. How do you balance these competing interests while pursuing real economic benefits for your citizens and for your economy?
Do you expect a direct answer?
I expect whatever answer you're willing to give.
Look, I mentioned the basic elements of our strategy in my initial intervention. I said that we believe in the diversification of both sources and routes as regards energy. Of course, we are a European Union member state, a NATO member as well, so that affects necessarily our policy priorities, but at the same time, we try to cooperate with all our neighbors. We don't neglect not only our neighbors, but also all the important players internationally. And I think if you examine the map, the energy map of Greece, the basic pipelines, the sources, the routes, and so on, you will see that we achieved to strike the right balance. That was the answer.
And it was beautifully crafted. Thank you. Mr. Beluco.
So I'm not having the same difficulty with Mr. Gatzidakis, which is minister of a great country as Greece, because we are a small country, but to the other hand, with a very strategic position, natural position in the Balkans. Albania don't have any other agenda. We have only the agenda of European Union, and we are seeking very hard to be part of this union. In meantime, that the other want to go away, as is the case of Brexit. So I believe that we are doing our best to be in compliance and to follow the policies of European Union and to be in perfect partnership with all the international partners that are operating in Albania, and we are appreciating a lot the support of all the financial and the political international partners that we have in our country. And I believe they are very helpful supporting all our region. Of course, we have the priorities that the European Union have as regarding the security of energy supply, the diversification of sources, and which is very important, last but not least, the care about the environment, which is very important right now. And as I said, we are a country that we are producing 100% of renewable energy, so we are in total compliance. And by the end, we are a full member of NATO. So Albania have the agenda of the partners and nothing more.
Terrific. Thank you. Minister Noureddini.
I apologize if I'm going to sound repetitive as well now. Yes, our ambition is to be part of the EU family. Our ambition is also to be part of the NATO family. On the rest, I think I'm just going to repeat exactly what my two colleagues here said. I agree with Minister Hatzidakis' statement. We are of the same opinion, and my colleague from the Republic of Albania. In order not to repeat, we have similar ideologies.
Terrific. Deputy Minister Stanko.
Yes, I have to say something different because we are already part of EU and part of NATO. But maybe just a year ago, we finalized our first presidency of European Union. Our motto was "United we stand strong." We showed with one of our priorities, which was the Western Balkans, that really united we stand strong. And all the countries you mentioned are not competitors. They are countries which are helping to the region. Here maybe it's important to mention that exactly US, together with the European Commission, help us a lot for the IGB interconnector to be part of the PCI project, to be on the list, to receive the necessary funding. And I can say a big thanks about this, really.
Terrific. Do we have time for, yeah, I think we've got a little bit of time. Shall we go out to the audience and take a few audience questions? There's a lot of collective wisdom and experience in the room, and I don't want to neglect that. So if anyone does have a question, feel free to raise your hand. If not, I'll circle back. Well, we've got one question at the back of the room there. If we can get a microphone to the gentleman standing in the back.
Hello, my name is Michalis Mathiulakis. I'm the academic director of the Greek Energy Forum. I would like, first of all, to thank the ministers for a very interesting panel. And I have a question for Minister Stankov. In relation to actually what was just discussed a minute earlier, in the past few months, we've heard some statements from the Bulgarian as well as the Russian administration about the Turkish Stream pipeline project passing through Bulgaria. Taking into consideration that the American administration has been very diligent in presenting the case that very often Russia is using energy to cohort political pressure, and on the other hand, that the European Union has been very diligent also in putting the framework, the regulatory framework about how pipelines entering the European Union should comply to the European legislation, in particular third-party access. How do you plan on putting these things together and overcome this obvious problem of having a 15 BCM Russian pipeline coming through Bulgaria while still maintaining all the other issues of complying with EU law and with your allies?
So thank you for making my questions look like softballs. Hopefully you can all appreciate the questions I started off with a little bit more. A terrific question, though, which gets to the heart of a difficult puzzle to solve. Does anyone want to try and offer a few remarks on this?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for the question. Very important question. First of all, Bulgaria is a part of European family, and we had many times opportunity with Mr. Gerasimos Thomas and all his colleagues in the European Commission to discuss this just a week ago also with Dr. Klaus-Dieter Borchardt. For us, it's important once again to extend our gas infrastructure so far to have as many as possible connection to the other to our neighbors. Of course, at the moment, as you know, the prices of the LNG gas is the best one, or even twice cheaper than pipeline gas, to say it in this way, which means that having the interconnected agreement on Cuota Siderocastro, we already started buying 300 million of LNG, 300 million cubic meter from LNG coming from Revetuza, and we are seeing the big potential to invest into the together with our partners from Geostrategic in the new LNG terminal in Alexandroupolis. In looking forward for this, that on the Black Sea territory, Bulgarian Black Sea territory, we have already the Total, OMV, Repsol, Shell, and the expectation there are big. We are also looking for this connectivity to export in the future gas, to secure the energy supply in the region. Related exactly with your question, we never spoke about extension or something like a new pipeline related with Turkish Stream. We are extending our internal gas infrastructure in relation with the European law, making a transparent tenders for capacities. I can say that on the new infrastructure we are planning, on the IGB we started two tenders for binding, non-binding capacities. On the on the extension of the grid, we started, I think, 3 tender procedures, and still we had something like 2.5 or 3 BCM free capacity from the extension of the Turkish-Bulgarian to the Bulgarian Serbian border, which means that we are going and following the European laws, and all this interconnectivity together with the gas exchange which we are planning to start at the beginning of this year, with the gas release program which we are planning to start this year, we will fully follow the European law, and we want to have as much competition on Bulgarian territory as possible. This competition will give better prices and better conditions to the customers, to the companies, to the citizens, and that's the main goal of our government. Thank you very much for the good question. Thank you very much.
Terrific, and thank you very much for the comprehensive answer. With that, I know we could go on for hours and hours, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that that we stand between an audience which has diligently tuned in for the entire day and a networking reception to follow. So without further ado, please join me in thanking this terrific set of ministers for their constructive and frank dialogue today. Please join me again in thanking the organizers of this event, the Hellenic Association for Energy Economics and the Hellenic American Chamber of Commerce. And please join us for the reception to follow. Thank you.